the trenches full of mud. War has always been the boss's way, sir.
The first week, was confusion. And just looking at some way to get the membership in a cohesive form and to get the public to buy in. We needed to do something, and I'll tell you, when I first brought it up, my biggest fear was that it wouldn't work, because getting unions and getting public support in times like these, it's been shown that it's been difficult to do. Our family day, the intention of it was to bring our families in and let them see exactly what was going on in the process. It was also a way to demonstrate to the employer that we are family, these are our family, and they were having a serious effect on all of them.
When they had to leave the plant the day that we had those barbecues, they knew it wasn't 180 workers out on the street, they knew it was 180 families.
The reality of the family day was it was a chance for the people in the background who were as affected as anyone else. I mean, I know personally in my own family, we were used to a certain expectation of weekly, money that we had, and amongst ourselves as a family, we sat down and decided that we were probably going to do stuff different. So it was a great opportunity, educational wise, to, my children won't ever forget, that lockout, right? But they also get to learn the effects of it, and it's a great teaching tool for for your income that you have, and why you have it, and all of that stuff. So Family Day was a natural fit to what we had to do. Plus, when the public looks to say, hey, look at that, why is that little kid out there? The public get to put the faces together, because to Robbie's point, it wasn't 180 or 180 workers, it's 180 families.
We want to work! We want to work! We want to work! Thanks a lot. We want to work! We want to work!
Love you, sweetheart. You need him to take the face. Love you.
Daddy, what is stolen?
Love ya.
My quarters.
Love ya. No, I don't know if he does.
Hi.
The challenge for us was finding a decent day to have it on, because there wasn't too many of them.
More rain this evening and tonight. That'll switch over to scattered snow flurries with gusty winds overnight as the temperature falls to -7 degrees.
They probably took on the 5 or 6 strongest weeks of winter that we had in this area in a long time, and they stood shoulder to shoulder with it, and the community stood shoulder to shoulder with them, and I think that really showed a lot of people that hey, there is strength in numbers.
These guys were out walking these picket lines in some of the most adverse weather that I've seen in a long time, and they showed a lot of solidarity and a lot of respect for one another out there on those lines, and it was truly sound to see unionized people sticking together underneath those conditions.
They stood out there in the snow and the cold. The day I was there, we were there a very short time, because a meeting was canceled because my members wouldn't show up to a meeting we canceled.
The driving conditions are poor and cancellations have started coming in as we face another blast of winter weather. There is a storm warning in effect with up to 30 centimeters of snow expected, combined at some point with rain and even some freezing rain. Meteorologist Richard Zarowski says the winds will also pick up with gusts from 70 to 90 kilometers an hour overnight.
They stood out there many nights or days in the cold and in the rain. They were pretty dedicated. I don't know, sometimes I thought they should have stayed home.
In the first week, it was complete chaos. We had, because everyone wanted answers, because no one had all the answers, right? So our own members were going through chaos.
By week 2 of the lockout, the voice of the community was getting louder. Citizens of St. John were donating coffee, homemade cookies, hand warmers, money, and even their own time.
I remember one Friday night, it was one of the worst miserable nights out there, and one of our local city firefighters taking his time out of his night of storms, bringing his four-wheeler in that had the tracks on it, going up and down Main Street, plowing it from one end of it to the other to help us so that we didn't have to track through the slushes and stuff.
It was a cold day on the line, and a car pulled up with a 20-year-old. And he just rolls down the window and he hands us $40 and he says, boys, go get some coffee.
Different occasions where on a late shift or a midnight shift, someone would drop by and pull over their car, open the door, and have 40 coffees there. And I mean, you know, you only got 20 guys in the line, there's only so much coffee you can drink. So I mean, you're handing it over to the security guards and hot coffee on a cold night.
As community support grew, the solidarity of the local continued to build.
There was a group of us watching one of the back gates one night that we actually stopped and made a snowman, put the second ball up on top and put one of the Union and Proud shirts over top of it, put the last one on, put a few rocks on, and a sign of it that said, Local 362. It was a way for a few guys to kind of have a laugh in the middle of the night.
Solidarity is just standing together. I mean, it's not to cut your wrists and bleed to death, but it's standing together in a common issue and to come up with a common resolve.
Meanwhile, away from the picket line, a different battle was brewing in the media.
Company spokesman Joel Levesque says at this point it's a wait-and-see game and either side could make the next move. But he says the company will get back to the table when the union is in a position to negotiate sincerely.
If you didn't hear 3 rumors a day, you started 3. Right up until the day they locked them out, the brewery was the absolute best friend of the media. Oh my goodness, you could call them and they'd tell you anything you wanted to know, everything. And suddenly, after the lockout came, I'd have had better luck getting information out of the Kremlin.
I mean, we have a dominated media here in St. John, in New Brunswick. And that media has shown repeatedly anti-labor tendencies, which is, part and parcel of being here in New Brunswick.
All the major media sources have a very narrow view of the role of unions. They don't even accept, for most of them, that unions should exist, notwithstanding the Declaration of Human Rights that calls for free trade unions and women and men to be able to join unions. The 362, by thinking outside the box, took a giant step forward in order to break through that myth, that nonsense that's been told to the public.
What is it going to take for you to undo the padlock?
It's going to require the negotiating team from the union to come to us and say, we are now serious about resolving this issue with you.
They were trying to say these are bad guys that are overpaid. And I think, these are hard-working guys that signed on a piece of paper to say, you know what, I will defer some of my salary. I'll put it forward into a pension. This is how pensions work, and that's unfortunate when the company says, yeah, but we don't want to afford that anymore. I remember one letter to the editor, let the unemployed line up and put in job applications. I'm thinking, these are people who don't understand unions got the shorter work week. Unions, we celebrate labor's history here in this city for child labor laws, for shorter work weeks, for job safety. And here we are saying, get rid of this union. There's these unions. What do these people from the outside have? What right do they have to be saying this?
Joel, thanks for doing this as always. Hopefully we can get this thing resolved. Oh, one quick final question. If it was the summertime, would it be over any quicker?
Well, hard to say.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Tom.
Joel Levesque, speaking on behalf of the Moosehead Breweries. Guys, get it resolved. We'll be back.
If you want to stand out today, if you want to deliver a message and look different than the average person, you got to do something different.
I guess I'll start with an opening statement. It is unfortunate that the company has chosen to lock us out, but in no way are we in support of a boycott of our products. In fact, we would encourage all New Brunswickers, those that maybe have drifted away from our product, encourage them to go back and try our products. We're proud of the products we make, and we would like to see maybe an increase in our market share and our sales. So we are encouraging every New Brunswicker to drink our products so that we can get this over with as soon as possible.
Yeah, we have 170 families in the street right now, and we want to look to the future of this as well, to say that we want everyone, we want to prosper when we get back. We're not looking to penalize Moosehead here. And the fact is, the beer that's in the liquor stores right now, we made it. It's a great product, we stand behind it, we drink it ourselves, so drink it.
We knew that they either had to run around the clock to even attempt to keep up, but where they were only attempting to even run one shift a day, we knew it was impossible for them to keep up with demands.
They're not running enough in there with us out to keep us out forever. So when we did go back to work, we wanted people drinking our product. But the Drink It Dry was also saying, putting a little heat on the company too, is if we're gonna run out of product, we're gonna need them back, quicker than anticipated.
This wasn't gonna last forever, and we had to go back and produce beer, and we wanted people to still be drinking our products when we were back making the good products that we make. So that was another aspect of it.
Often when unions look at strategy, there's a tendency of members to think in terms of knee-jerk reaction that, they locked us out, so we'll fix them, we're going to call on a boycott. Instead of calling a boycott, they actually put pressure on the company's inventory.
For every so-called shift of beer they ran, there were 3 behind or 2 behind, or maybe even more than that, because we run quarts, cans, kegs, different size bottles, different size cans, so there's all kinds of things you can throw into the mix.
If it was old labor against new labor in terms of the boycott, thank goodness the new labor won, because that would have, the boycott would have been the dumbest possible thing that they could do. There are other breweries in this province, and they would have loved to have had a boycott at that time.
The local took a responsible approach. They were smart enough not to boycott their product.
They were helping the dispute, putting pressure on the company in the lockout, and at the same time building the long-term capacity of the company, and ultimately of labor and management being able to work together. It was a very clever tactic.
It sort of helped us on the outside see that, it's not a bad company. They're just going through a rough spot here. And it certainly elevated mine, and I think a lot of others, to say, I don't understand why, maybe I'd probably be pretty mad at the company, but these guys are certainly, they're rooting for good beer, and we can support that.
In order to run any business, you need people to do it. We're the people that are content to work for the money that we're working for, to produce a product. It's about striking that balance between a group of people who are willing to do the work, treating them fairly to get the work done. It's as simple as it comes down to.
Certainly a large part of our strategy was to buy the friendship and, if you want to call it loyalty, from the security staff. Benefited us in spades. And one incident that stuck out in particular was I was in the office one morning and received a phone call from the head of security that there was a truck going into the plant. But he said there was no one down there to have a look inside or hold them up. So when I was on the radio or on the phone with him, I said, well, listen, Gary, can you do me a favor? Can you hold them up till I get some men down there? He said, no problem, I'll hold them up. He said, make sure you're down within 10 minutes though. I said, no problem, I just want to get someone in there to see what's in there on the truck. If we could only hold up trucks for a certain amount of time, then they had to give us the right to go in and do an inventory count inside the truck. So we were able to negotiate a deal to say, we will only hold them up 10 minutes apiece. You allow us enough time to go in and to see what's going in and what's coming out. It was important for us to know, because then by going by the dates the beer was produced, we could tell how much the company was producing. Well, it got to the point when we were holding up vehicles, we were carrying on a lifestyle conversation with the security people there, and they weren't even paying attention to the time. And then, you could see the frustration on their faces. And then she'd say, well, I think it's time. I said, we'd give him a little nudge. Hey, why don't we make this guy wait another 5 minutes? He's not really a pleasant person. All right, you got 5 more minutes. So, and this went on and on and on. And then, of course, the next day, Gary would come up all in a lather about, you got to get more prompt on your times, because you could tell that he got spoken to that night from the company saying, you gotta do something about what's going on out there. We earned the trust and the grace from the security staff by treating them with respect, because they had a job to do, we had a job to do, and by mutual respect, they gave us latitudes that we wouldn't have never been able to have.
Week 2, it was kind of organized chaos. And by week 3, we're starting to roll along pretty smooth. The picket captains have picked up their roles. They understand what they got to do. A lot of the agreements with the police and the security force were worked out, so it facilitated it rolling over easy.
I think the horns and the crowd pretty much says it all. I know we've mentioned before, we've lived in these communities our whole lives. We've promoted our product unceasingly, and this is exactly why we're getting the support that you see out here today.
Well, they had a lot of support from the community because obviously, you're talking about 200 employees. So, they got backup. I try to give them a little bit of support, with gift certificates and free pizzas.
On our second family day, and much like the rest of our picket line, we were starting to get a well-oiled machine going. Our first time we had barbecues, and it was a little more impromptu. By the second time, we had other locals delivering us their trailer that came complete with huge barbecues, and we had tremendous support in that aspect of it. And then to go along with it, my son's birthday happened to fall on our second family day, so it seemed like the appropriate opportunity to have a birthday cake. And
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ron. It's not gonna work, so don't worry about it. Happy birthday to you.
My little guy went right to school the next day and told everyone he'd get to celebrate his birthday on the picket line. Not everyone gets to have 400 people at their birthday party.
The members are the very basis of the union, but beyond that, they've got to have a relationship with the community. They need to be able to tell their story in a way that people understand what's happening.
Local 362 to the community's always been there. I know from a perspective of being a Labour Council president, anytime we've asked for their support and whatever's been going on around town, whether it's to help support another union that is either in a strike or a lockout situation, they come with dollars and more important, the human resources to bolster the line. The local 362 members really show what it is to be family.
Together, working through adverse weather, aggressive employer tactics, and a one-sided media, the confidence of the local members reached new heights. This capacity and solidarity even found its way onto a national stage, with sellout crowds for the top-ranked junior hockey team in Canada, the St. John Sea Dogs.
During the lockout, Moosehead, which is one of the big sponsors of this team, during the intermission, they send their Alpine vehicle out, and they have a couple of girls going out, and they throw T-shirts and hats and stuff into the crowd during the intermission. Well, on this Saturday night,